Welcome to the Alison Howard podcast, where high-achieving women elevate their identity, expand what's possible, and create a life of true abundance. I'm Alison Howard. Let's dive in. Today, I want to talk to you about why you're still stuck and how to finally change your life. Welcome back to the podcast or YouTube, wherever you're listening or watching this. Today, I want to speak directly to the woman who feels like she's living inside a pattern she cannot quite break. Even though she knows, and most women are deeply intuitive, that she's meant for more than what she's currently experiencing. So maybe this is you. Perhaps your life looks very functional on the outside, even really good. You meet your responsibilities. You move through all of your routines throughout the day. You handle what needs to be handled as maybe a wife or a mom or both. And yet there is this very persistent awareness that something feels off, that something feels too repetitive or constrained or disconnected from the vision that you hold for yourself. So you may find yourself thinking, why does it feel like I'm living the same day over and over again? Have you ever felt that way? Like Groundhog Day, right? Or why does real change feel like something that happens for other people, but not me? My life just stays the same all the time. What makes this particularly frustrating is that you're probably not lacking desire, you're not lacking intelligence or ambition or even effort. You want growth, you want expansion, you want movement. But despite those desires, your lived experience continues to feel very familiar in ways that are no longer satisfying. So today I want to walk you through why that happens and, more importantly, how meaningful, lasting change begins. I want to teach you how to change your life because this is the number one thing that people come to me for as a coach is, Alison, I am here at point A and I want to go there to point B. I want to collapse time. I want to leap forward. How do I do that? I need to change my life. So I'm going to help you understand how to do that today. This is going to be a meaty episode. So I hope you're ready. All right, let's talk about the invisible loop, okay? One of the most important things to understand about feeling stuck is that stagnation doesn't really announce itself. It's not like this big dramatic thing that enters the room and says, "Welcome, you are now stagnant." So most women are not frozen in place, right? We don't feel frozen. We actually feel really busy. Most women are active, they're engaged, they're moving through their lives, they're handling a lot of different things, many different irons in the fire. However, beneath all of that activity, which can also be distraction, but beneath the activity, there is often a very subtle but powerful loop at play. And the loop is not primarily behavioral, although it definitely can influence behavior. It is more cognitive, emotional, and identity based. So, in other words, the same thoughts continue to circulate, the same interpretations of reality repeat over and over again, the same emotional reactions continue to resurface, and the same decisions are made from the same internal vantage point. So, from the outside, life appears to be progressing because days are passing and tasks are being completed. We're checking those boxes, right? But internally, however, the experience remains very unchanged because the identity generating all of those days hasn't shifted. You are the identity, by the way. You are generating the days and it hasn't shifted. And you might think, well, I have responsibilities though. We all have responsibilities. So that's the good news. You can still completely change reality and shift your life despite having responsibilities. Many women assume that they are stuck because their circumstances are not changing, when actually in reality, circumstances are not changing because the internal state that's producing them remains consistent. And so we all have circumstances in our life that we want to change. We want to grow the business and make more money. We want to have a deeper, more fulfilling relationship with our spouse. We want to be more impactful parents. We want to be more consistent friends. We want to maybe change our location, or start a garden or build a house or whatever the circumstances are, right, that we want. But we are stuck in these current circumstances and we feel like they're not changing. And the reason they're not changing is because your internal state that's producing them remains consistent. So let's talk a little bit about why change can feel so elusive. And the thing is that most of us were conditioned to believe that change originates externally. So everything happens outside of us. We're taught that once we achieve the goal, or once we secure the opportunity, or once we increase the income, once we improve the relationship or we relocate to the new environment, that our internal world will finally settle into confidence and peace and clarity and fulfillment, all of those wonderful things, right? So, this creates a model of reality in which we are perpetually waiting for life to move first. And then we think that we're just going to respond. We believe we will feel different once something outside of us changes, rather than understanding that our external world is continuously responding to the internal patterns that we're living from. So, what makes this model so exhausting, is that it places your emotional stability, it places your self perception, your sense of possibility, it places all of those things, your dreams, at the mercy of circumstances that haven't yet caught up with your desires. So, real change begins when you reverse this whole thing, when you reverse the orientation of it all, and you recognize that transformation is an inside out job. It's an inside out process rather than an outside in process. So, something I always tell my clients is it's not when I see it, I'll believe it. It's when you believe it, you will see it. When you believe it, you will see it. So there was a season in my own life when I began to notice a pattern it was confronting for sure. Like, it was like right there in my face, but it was also liberating. So despite changing environments, we had moved cities. Despite shifting my goals and my strategies, I kept encountering the same circumstances, the same experiences. You can't outrun your identity, right? So I had the same frustrations. I had very similar doubts. I had similar cycles of effort and discouragement. And so eventually I had to recognize that, while the details of my life had changed and were changing, the version of me moving through those details was largely the same. So I was experiencing the same results. And I want to be gentle with you and with myself here. This realization that I had, it was not rooted in like this mean self-blame, energy. Instead, it was in awareness, and that actually created empowerment. Because if I was the common denominator in my own experiences, then I was also the point at which the change could occur. So I was the cause. And this is where radical personal responsibility comes in. And it's so, so hard. It was hard for me too. You're not alone. I was the cause of everything that was happening in my life. But that was also really empowering, because if I was causing the circumstances, then that gave me some bit of autonomy and authority over what I could create in my life. So this required a shift away from, me constantly asking myself, what do I need to do differently? What do I need to do differently? And instead, it moved me toward a better question. It's a deeper question, but it's a much better question, which is, who am I being that keeps creating this reality? Why am I stuck at this income level? Why do I keep doing this thing? Why am I not progressing in this relationship? Or why do I see the same things that I see every single day that I've seen for years? It's because, who is I being that kept creating the reality? If you are familiar at all with what I teach, what I talk about, or if you've learned, if you've studied any of this stuff, comfort, comes from familiarity, even if what we're familiar with is not what's best for us. So many women remain in very unsatisfying patterns, not because change is unavailable to them, but because familiarity offers this sense of safety. It's a psychological thing. The known, even when it's not good for us, even when it's limiting, even when it feels um, boring or below our potential, it also feels very predictable. And it's more predictable than the unknown. And so we stay where we're at to keep ourselves safe. We often underestimate just how strongly the nervous system prefers what is familiar and safe over what is expansive. Having a growth mindset is uncomfortable because growth introduces uncertainty, and uncertainty can feel very destabilizing if your identity and your emotional regulation have not yet adapted to a place where you can actually hold it. So a woman may sincerely desire change in her life while unconsciously choosing these thoughts and behaviors and interpretations of life that just preserve what's familiar to her. Is this making sense? Okay. So, how does change actually begin then? If we're kind of, predisposed and unconsciously choosing thoughts and behaviors and actions and interpretations, how do we actually change? So, lasting transformation begins when you understand that your life reflects your identity more than your intentions. You may have all the amazing, wonderful intentions in the world, but if your identity is not where it needs to be in order to create the life of your dreams, those intentions will fall short. Your patterns, your decisions, your tolerations, your emotional responses, those things are all organized around who you believe yourself to be. And this is why surface level adjustments or, goals. I like setting goals, but why surface level adjustments and goals often fail to produce deep, lasting change. Because without an identity shift, these new behaviors just feel forced. They feel faked. And forced, fake behaviors are rarely sustainable. So meaningful change occurs when you ask, who must I become for the life I desire to feel natural rather than aspirational? You don't want that life to feel like it's out of your reach or like it's pie in the sky. You want that dream life, that dream business, that dream marriage, all of those amazing things to feel natural. So, this is where the power of inner shifting comes into play. So, inner work is not about endlessly analyzing yourself. It is about getting to know yourself really well, though. It's about consciously participating in your own evolution, in your own growth. It involves noticing your habitual thoughts and being gentle with yourself when you do. I had one client who constantly said, "Oh, you're so stupid. Oh, that was so dumb. Why'd you do that?" And once we started working together, it was within the first 2 weeks. Every time she noticed herself berating herself in that way, she gently said, "No, you're learning. You're in progress. It's okay to make a mistake. You're growing." So you have to notice these habitual thoughts. You have to question limiting narratives that you've created for yourself or that other people have created for you. Expanding your own self concept is your responsibility, and what it does is it gradually stabilizes this new way of being. As your internal world starts to reorganize, your external reality begins to respond accordingly. So if you resonate with feeling stuck, and we all feel stuck at multiple different points in our life, I want to invite you to consider where repetition, where these repetitive thoughts and self talk and beliefs, where all of these things might be masquerading as effort in your life. So, what thoughts feel endlessly familiar? What emotional reactions feel automatic? And what versions of you continues to make decisions? So, awareness, when you become aware, it's not self criticism, it's actually just a doorway to change. So, walk through it. I promise you, it'll be so great. I want to just empower you with this idea, with this truth. You are not stuck because you lack potential. Absolutely not. You're amazing. You are stuck because your internal world has not yet shifted into alignment with the reality that you want, with the reality that you desire, your desired outcome. And that is entirely changeable. That is the good news. So, if this conversation is resonating with you, I want to invite you to join me for my next 3-day live event on Zoom. It's on April 8th, 9th, and 10th. And together, what we're going to be exploring is identity, belief, embodiment, how to naturally become her and the internal shifts that create external transformation. You're going to find the registration link in the show notes. I would love to link arms with you and be with you there. So your life changes when you change. When your thinking evolves, when your identity expands, and your internal world starts to stabilize at a new level, it feels safe with all of those changes. Reality begins reflecting that shift. So you are not waiting on your life. You're not waiting on all these amazing things to happen. Your life is actually waiting on you. You are a co creator in your life. So now go and be the woman your future is waiting on. Thank you for spending time with me here today. I look forward to talking with you all next week. Be blessed.